I was lucky enough to be in New York when the internet hit in 1994, 95. CD-ROMs were becoming a big deal, multimedia, and then all of a sudden the internet became commercialized with the Netscape browser supporting images. And I started a zine, because back then, if you wanted to be important in the world, the real startup idea you had was a zine. And a zine just meant a magazine that was not professionally produced, but that was literally a photocopy. And so after starting that photocopy zine, Silicon Valley Reporter, it quickly grew into a print magazine. It had 300 pages, and I got caught up in the whole dot-com sort of wave of innovation. And so I got very lucky. But being a journalist is a great way to learn how to interview founders and to cut through BS. And you're kind of a detective, right? Like when you're a journalist, you have to ask questions, let the person talk, and maybe try to figure out what the truth is. And when you're an angel investor, it's very similar. You're talking to founders, and sometimes they're tourists. They're people who are just trying on the concept of being a founder. They saw the social network, or they've seen how Uber or Google or Airbnb have grown, and they say, I want to be a founder. And then they start pitching investors, and you realize, wow, this person's going to give up. Like, this idea does not have real meaning to them, and they have no idea how hard it is to be a founder.
If you want to be rich and successful one day, a great way to know how to do that is to be financially literate and understand what to do with your money once you've made it. Because people who become millionaires and billionaires know what to do with their money. They don't just guess or figure it out as long as they go. They learn how to do it as soon as possible. And one of the best things you can possibly do is invest your money. Put your money in places where eventually down the line, your money that you put in there will start to make you money over time. It's not going to happen overnight, and no investment is an instant return. It all takes time for good investments. But you want to find something that is truly going to help you in your life and potentially others along their lives, so that way you constantly reach a goal of the most amount of people affected by your investments, because the more people that use it, the more money you will make. And if people have to use this investment every single day, that means more money in your pocket. But you want to make sure that you are diversified with your investments. Invest in different companies and different stakes and different real estate properties, this, that, and the other. You want to be incredibly diversified with your investments. That way, if you take a hit, you have others to bring it up. You also need to make sure that you're not in it for the quick term. You need to make sure you buy, hold as long as you possibly can, because the chances of it going up in the future are incredibly high.
Fast forward, and I had the Silicon Valley Reporter. I'm on top of the world. I'm 29 years old. I got 100 people working for me. We're doing $12.5 million in business or so. And I was covered in the New Yorker in a 5,000 or 6,000 word profile. I'm on Charlie Rose. I'm on 60 Minutes. I was on Bloomberg twice a week. And so I'm like, wow, I'm on top of the world. And I'm unstoppable. And somebody offered me $20 million for the magazine. And I was like, I'm taking this to the moon. Then the stock market crashes, and the internet went from being like the hottest thing in the world to being a bunch of charlatans and con artists. And I had to have like a really deep look in the mirror and say, am I a charlatan or is this real? What just happened? And again, it's like getting punched in the face. So I'm sitting there going, oh my God, all the advertisers literally overnight went out of business. Or if they were in business, I called them and said, you owe me 50 grand in ads. And they're like, we have no money, Jason. We're just laying everybody off. And I'm like, okay. And we went literally from $12 million in revenue one year to $500,000 the next. So it was really brutal. And so I had to lay off like 80 people, and people cried. It was like a really trying experience. And I just thought to myself, I promised myself I would never fail. And now I'm on the precipice of failure because the stock market crashed. It's one thing to screw Andreessen Horowitz, the founder of Quora, my friend Roger Dickey from Gigster, and other folks who are already affluent and have had their payday. But I'm assuming you haven't had your payday. That's why you're working still. You haven't had your big payday. And you know what? You took a shot with this company. You took that and you hit the 10% chance. And then and I'll say it, you don't have to. And I'm saying that to Tasso right now. This is so horrible that I wish nothing but horror for you in your future. I hope you get sued by these investors. I hope you're a pariah. I hope every employee leaves your company. And I hope that the employees leave your company, Tasso. I hope your employees leave the company and raise a round of funding and do a revenge startup. And I will be the first to give them $1 million if they do it. I am infuriated. I am so on fire about this because as an angel investor myself, if the people who worked at Uber or Calm or Robinhood were screwed the way you were screwed, the entire framework of Silicon Valley falls apart. You have talented people who are taking less money to go to these startups. And if somebody like this piece of garbage, Tasso Duval, garbage. I am very much of the belief in investing in companies right after they launch their product, and I can play with it. So I think a company like Superhuman, because Raul had done a company before, was able to raise a decent chunk of change in their seed round. It was, many millions of dollars, but it wasn't over 10. I was in a later round of Medium, but I think Ev probably raised a decent chunk of change. So serial founders like a Mark Pincus or Elon with the Boring Company, forget about me being involved in them. I'm not in the Boring Company, but I am in Medium, but a later round. They tend to raise 10 million for 10%. That's what I see a lot of the times. And so it's an outrageous valuation when compared to the average, and probably the founders are getting a 5x, 10x premium on their previous experience for good reason. They're going to get the product to market. They've done it many times before.
Thank you all so much for watching. If you haven't already, please go ahead and like the video, subscribe to the channel if you're new, and let us know what you thought down in the comment section below.